Just ahead on CTV News, a heated debate over the future of Maryland's blueprint. Plus, the county state's attorney hosts her third annual municipal retreat.
We have a lot of different subjects we're going to be covering today, but more importantly for me, I get to hear from my partners, so even though we are initiating this retreat, it's really a collaborative effort to stay engaged and stay in touch.
And we sit down with a candidate in the County Council District 5 race. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Our top story tonight, a high-stakes showdown in Annapolis over Governor Wes Moore's plan to scale back Maryland's landmark school reforms. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us for CTV News for February 20th. I'm Michaela Newton. Well, lawmakers, educators, and advocates clashed in a heated 4-hour hearing over Governor Moore's plan to delay major education reforms in the blueprint for Maryland's future. The bill postpones a plan to reduce teacher classroom time, a move that would require hiring up to 15,000 new teachers amid a staffing shortage. It also freezes funding for community schools, sparking outrage from lawmakers who say it could hurt low-income students.
Isn't it more appropriate to not cut the funds, but wait and see what the legislation we just passed in 2024 will do in terms of oversight and strengthening our community schools, and take a look at kind of simultaneously, maybe we can repurpose funding, maybe we can look at best practices in Baltimore City, who's being successful, and without cutting the funding and leaving children behind in this time that we're living in.
What we are flagging for this body is that we have too many examples where schools and districts are not in a position to leverage the community schools program to its desired effect. So anything we can do to address that, the governor and our team is standing at the ready to work with you to correct that issue.
And another point of contention was Moore not testifying himself, sending his chief of staff instead. The administration says the plan keeps the blueprint funded, but critics call it a broken promise to Maryland students. The bill's future remains uncertain. Meanwhile, hundreds of healthcare workers, researchers, and lawmakers rallied outside the Department of Health and Human Services Wednesday, protesting job cuts and funding freezes under the Trump administration. They say the moves could put public safety at risk. Some workers are already laid off, while others fear they could be next. Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin voiced the concerns about the impact on medical research, and demonstrators also highlighted the uncertain future of international scientists in the U.S. if they lose their jobs.
Now, I've spoken to constituents who've been terminated because they're on probation. And they're on probation because they were promoted. In other words, they're terminated because they were just promoted because they were doing such a good job. That's stupid. That's cruel.
And other protests like this were planned in New York City, LA, Detroit, Atlanta, Boston, Philadelphia, and Dallas. And tenants' rights advocates rallied in Annapolis on Tuesday, pushing for the good cause eviction bill, which would require landlords to give a valid reason for ending or refusing to renew a lease. Maryland is one of only 6 states where counties can't enforce this rule. Supporters say it will protect tenants from retaliation for raising concerns, but opponents worry it could limit landlords' ability to evict problem tenants. The bill passed the House last year but stalled in the Senate, and lawmakers now have until April to act. And House Democrats moved forward Wednesday with a bill to expand the Prescription Drug Affordability Board's power, allowing it to cover all drug providers in Maryland. Delegate Bonnie Cullison defended the bill, rejecting Republican claims that it would set price caps. The debate echoed the 2019 discussions when the board was first created, but so far it's made little progress, with no drugs yet priced lower. And the topic of rent stabilization for seniors is back on the table for the County Council today. Members of the Planning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee met this morning. The body discussed amending the county's current law that provides rent stabilization protections for seniors in buildings built before the year 2000. Now, the new measure in front of the council would only remove the age restriction to facilities that rent to seniors.
You know, this is really just a correction because we thought we had included this in the previous bill. We don't intend to keep adding more things to rent stabilization, but we did want to make this correction. So we want to make sure that for seniors, their buildings are covered at a longer period of time.
But the reality is our seniors right now, and the reality is they cannot afford it. And it doesn't matter if you build new housing that the seniors here can't afford. That's irrelevant, right? So the conversation about building new homes that the seniors that we're talking about that currently live here at the income that they have, if they can't afford it, what does that do? Does that say that this community is for a different set of seniors that are moving in from DC or other parts of the region that can't afford these prices because they can't afford it?
And the committee ultimately passed a motion to postpone the vote of this measure. Well, 46-year-old Candace Craig was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of her elderly mother in May of 2023. The state's attorney's office recommended the sentence, saying Craig was the mastermind in the murder of her mother and attempted cover-up. Craig initially tried to blame her children for the vicious crime. A jury convicted her of first-degree murder and lesser charges in November 2024. Judge Karen Mason, who sentenced Craig, said the killing stems from Craig stealing Social Security and pension checks from her mother. Meanwhile, Prince George's State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy held her third annual municipal retreat today. Braveboy highlighted some of her work in ending family and domestic violence. Braveboy said that the achievements are a collaborative effort between the state's attorney's office and the municipalities. She's also running for the Prince George's County executive seat.
I'm going to talk about the work that we have done together with our Prince George's County Police, with all of our municipal police, as well as state and park police to lower crime here in Prince George's County. And we're seeing some really great results from that. It's all about collaboration. So it wasn't just the work of the state's attorney's office, it was really the work of the partnership. And while we initiated some things, some of my partners also initiated efforts. And I think as long as we're working together, we're going to continue to achieve greatness here in the county.
All right, you're watching CTV News. I'm Michaela Newton. Coming up, if you aren't ready to head to D.C. for the new Go-Go Museum, you can catch a glimpse of the history right here in Prince George's.
So I'm here with Pete Duval at the Brentwood Arts Exchange, and we're going to take you through a history of go-go right here in Prince George's County. I'm Bryce Parker. We have more coming up on CTV News.
Hi, I'm Leland Melvin, and I traveled to space twice as a NASA astronaut. Space technologies help protect our precious Earth. Space helps us monitor changes in carbon emissions, track the pace of climate change. It even helps us fight natural disasters. Make sure that you get out to your local science museum or go to spaceforall.us to explore and learn about space and science. Space is for all.
A fatal shooting in Temple Hills late last night leaves one man dead. Officers found 67-year-old Antonio Dillard suffering from gunshot wounds shortly after 11 p.m. The shooting happened at the 2600 block of Keating Street. Police found Dillard inside an apartment building and he was taken to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Detectives are working to find a motive and a suspect in this case. A $25,000 reward is being offered for information leading to an arrest and indictment in this case as well. Meanwhile, a Washington, D.C. man is found guilty in court on Tuesday for a fatal shooting in Temple Hills back in September of 2023. 47-year-old Christopher Cross was found guilty of first-degree murder of Brian Akinfe. Court's documents reveal that on September 2nd, Cross chased Akinfe in his car and shot him. The man was on his motorcycle at the time, which led to him to crash. He was later taken to the hospital where he died a few days later. Investigation shows that Cross was in a relationship with Akinfe's child's mother, and he was in an ongoing child custody dispute with the mother. And President Trump appointed Governor Wes Moore to the Council of Governors. Moore will serve a 2-year term on the bipartisan council. Governors will collaborate on issues of homeland security, disaster relief, and military matters. As one of the 10 governors alongside Virginia's Glenn Youngkin, Moore says that he will vigorously defend the interests of all Marylanders and push back on the new administration when necessary. The council, established in 2008, consists of 5 Republican and 5 Democratic governors. And Maryland leaders are making a big push to expand apprenticeship opportunities across the state. Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller and Labor Secretary Portia Wu testified before the Senate Finance Committee, backing a new bill to grow apprenticeships and create the Maryland Office of Registered Apprenticeship Development. The RAISE Act would incentivize trades training, expand job placement, and create new opportunities for workers looking for a career path.
Apprenticeships work. They offer real-world experience, a paycheck from day one, and a direct route to stable careers without crushing student debt. And when we bet on apprenticeships, we're making a winning investment on Maryland's future.
If we want Maryland's economy to grow, we need to have skilled talent in our state, and that means growing apprenticeship. It means building on the outstanding models that have been developed over many decades with union labor management cooperation. It means expanding apprenticeship to new industries, including lighthouse sectors, as well as building on foundational sectors. And it means leveraging our state dollars to support apprenticeship programs, walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Supporters say this move strengthens Maryland's economy, ensuring apprenticeships lead to real jobs. And the Prince George's County Police Department is mourning the loss of a pioneer. Corporal Luther Watkins Sr. made history as the first African-American officer hired by the department in 1967. As a trailblazer, Watkins dedicated 18 years of service to the community. He spent a portion of his career as a recruiter, guiding and inspiring future officers. Officer Watkins Sr. retired in 1985, leaving a legacy of leadership, courage, and commitment to strengthening our department and community. And you can't tell the story of Black history in the DMV without talking about go-go. Bryce Parker has more.
So CTV family, we are here at the Brentwood Arts Exchange, and we have this amazing go-go exhibit behind us. And I'm here today with Pete Duvall. Can you tell me a little bit about Chuck Brown and his influence and how go-go kind of got started?
Well, I'm not a historian. I'm a big fan. I am local to the area, and I grew up with it. But Chuck is, as you said, acknowledged as the godfather of go-go. His whole thing was he hated it when he would be playing shows and he would see people stop dancing between songs. So his whole thing is, like, let's get something going where people don't have a chance to stop. And that created what became known as the pocket in go-go. So when you go to, if you've ever been to a go-go show, they don't stop. They go for like 2 hours and everybody's dancing the whole time. So mission accomplished.
Right. It never stops. It's like just a continuous, rhythm, a party, really. And so I'm looking at some of these posters. Can you take me over here? So I see it's a poster of Junkyard Band.
Yeah. So my introduction into go-go was my friend Jovan James. Shout out to Jovan, who handed me, there was a tape that went around in the late 80s that was Junkyard Live at the Safari Club. And that was my entry point. So Junkyard from the jump has always been, if I'm totally honest, my favorite go-go band ever. So this is this poster is actually mine. This is one that I actually got a hold of at some point, and they are it. So that was my entry point. So I love Junkyard.
Gotcha. And so, let's keep taking a walk. We're going through the museum. We're seeing a lot of posters. We're seeing a lot of pictures. Another picture of Chuck Brown right here. Yep. Can you take us, through some of these go-go bands that, have kind of given such great influence to the music and have pushed it forward throughout the years?
Well, there's a bunch. I mean, it's one of the cool things for such what's widely regarded as a really regional art form. It's one of the few kind of regional music forms that still exists in the sort of internet world. There's a bunch of really big players. Chuck Brown, as we've already mentioned, is probably one of the biggest. You can't talk about go-go without talking about Trouble Funk, EU, Rare Essence, Northeast Groovers. You had your female bands like Pleasure that were huge. And it was a really, really cool community. They all kind of fed off of each other and played with each other quite a bit, as you can see with all the Globe posters here at various venues, wherever they would happen. And it was, I don't know, it's a really cool scene and a really cool art form that I'm glad is still going strong.
Yeah, no, definitely still going strong. You know, I'm a younger guy, you know, maybe just a little bit younger than you. So, you know, I'm of the newer generation, you know. I like the CCBs, you know, TCB, you know, and all the, you know, remixes and everything like that. How, you know, does this museum kind of show how go-go has grown throughout the years?
Well, this is more, to be honest, this is less of a museum piece and more of I've called it like my love letter to go-go. As someone who grew up in the area, it was one of the forms that was really, really important to me. Going to go-go's, listening to go-go all the time, it was a huge part of just growing up in the area. So a lot of what's in this show is things that I would have easily hung on my wall, some things that I was a fan of. So the Globe posters, the tickets, pictures of Chuck, of Cool Disco Dan, all those records on the wall are all mine. So it's more of a sort of thank you to what this incredible scene gave me as a fan growing up around here.
Well, Pete, thank you so much, you know, for giving us, you know, kind of your love letter to go-go, showing us all these amazing pieces. You know, if you're ever in the Brentwood area, you should come to the Brentwood Arts Exchange. They're going to be here until March 8th, so make sure that you don't miss this exhibit before it goes away. Back to you in the studio.
All right, I learned a lot about go-go today. Bryce, thanks so much. Stay with CTV News as we learn more about Black history in the county. And still to come on CTV News, the race is on for the County Council District 5 seat. After the break, we speak to candidate Teresa Mitchell-Dudley.
When I first had Jaden, I'd get comments all the time about how happy I must be. I remember thinking there must be something wrong with me because I don't feel all this joy I'm supposed to be feeling. It was hard to admit that, even to my doctor. But she told me it was postpartum depression, and that is very treatable. These days, things are feeling right, even if they don't always go that way.
Welcome back. The special primary election for the County Council District 5 seat is less than 2 weeks away. In the next coming week, CTV will bring you exclusive interviews with each of those candidates. And joining us in the studio today is candidate Teresa Mitchell-Dudley. Ms. Dudley, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm honored to be here.
All right, so why do you want to be the next council member representing District 5?
Well, I believe that I bring the most experience of the candidates of working in the community. For the past 34 years, I've worked in the Landover vicinity and in District 5. I love this area so much. I actually just bought a home not too long ago because I want to see the work that I've been doing over the years come to fruition. And working on education and public safety and economic development have all been a part of that. So I feel that I have the most experience, I have the most on the boots working with people, and I know the budget. Every year I have to watch them and make sure they put the right amount of money in for our schools. So I have really focused myself on this community as a place to live, work, and do business, and we deserve that.
Absolutely. You have a lot of experience working with the teachers union and within the educational space. Right now, Blueprint for Maryland's Future is facing a lot of challenges. What are your thoughts on those challenges? And if you were to run in this, be elected, what are your plans for the Blueprint?
That's a good question. Well, for the past 10 years of my life, I've been between Annapolis and all over the state, working to make sure that the Blueprint was passed. We had to go and get Larry Hogan to actually, we got the veto so that now the Blueprint is in place. We put a lockbox around the money so they can't use that money for casinos or anything else. What the biggest issue for us in Prince George's County is making sure that our county services are in alignment with the Blueprint. Right now, some things are a little disjointed, that especially with Department of Health and Human Services, where they provide wraparound services. But I do think that we have the potential for greatness. I think we need to change the narrative about our schools, because no one's talking about the posse scholars that are coming out of Prince George's County, where our students got nationally recognized to receive full tuition scholarships. So we've got the blueprint, we've got a great base, we've got a great community, so let's just make it better. I want to change the narrative and talk about how good our schools are, how our educators are working and doing more with less every day. So that's the main reason why I'm running, is about the schools, and we can talk about public safety and economic and commercial development and those types of things as well.
Absolutely. So right now, the county's facing a $170 million deficit. How would you address that deficit without cutting some essential services?
Well, it's not just a matter of do we have the money, it's do we have the will to put our money where our priorities are. Clearly, the aging infrastructure of our school system is someplace that we need to invest. Addressing the teacher shortage is something that we need to address, because there's a reason why Amazon went on the other side of the river. And we need to make sure that we change the narrative about our schools, because when the schools became desegregated 60 years ago, a lot of the people who didn't want busing moved out of the county. They said, oh, the schools are bad. Why? Oh, yeah, then let those black children move in now. And that sort of echo of that stays with us. But we've got to claim it and say, no, we're not going to put up with that anymore. This is how we're going to fund our schools. 60% of our budget does go to public education, and we need to maximize that. Maximize the community college and our students that can get free education there so that they can become teachers. And then they can go to Bowie and the University of Maryland, maybe spend a year doing public service at our school system to help justify us paying for them to go to school. You shouldn't have to be thousands of dollars in debt to do public service.
So clearly one of your most pressing issues is education. What are some of the other issues in the county do you see as pressing that you would address?
That big sinkhole over there, Landover Mall. When they built the stadium, we were promised economic development, all of these wonderful businesses that it would attract to Prince George's County. I live less than a quarter mile from Landover Mall, and I'm still looking for the economic development. Our community deserves better economic development than the dredges of economic development that nobody else wants. We want businesses and economic development that's going to improve the quality of life for the residents. I've done that. I've worked with the Landover vicinity where we improved Metro Point, Overland Apartments, and Capitol View Mutual Homes. We even got sidewalks up and down Landover Road. Remodeled the post office. We have a lot of things that we can do, but those basic core services that we want, everybody wants that. Everybody wants to live in a nice neighborhood.
And speaking of economic development, what is your plan, or do you have a plan as far as bringing better economic development into the county?
Well, the first thing we have to do is work on the narrative about our schools, and the narrative about crime in the county, because we've got to make sure that we hire enough police officers, and right now we are short several hundred officers. The money is in the budget to hire the officers and to train them, but the hiring process for police and fire is so antiquated that we never have full classes, which is ridiculous. So we've got to start with the schools, public safety, and economic development that makes sense. So if we do that, that will improve. And when I say economic development, I don't mean build more homes. Let me make that clear. Where are the schools when you're building 5,000 new homes? You got to make sure that your adequate public facilities are met. And the rampant residential development has taken away a lot of that. We need more commercial development that people want to go to. I hear people talking about how they got to go here, go there to get service. I mean, I shop in the county. I eat in the county just for that reason, because I don't want other people getting our money.
And my probably final question on affordable housing. Right now, an average home goes for about $400,000. What is your stance on affordable housing, and how would you, move more affordable housing into the county?
Well, we have a lot of affordable housing here in Prince George's County. We have a lot of houses that are abandoned and vacant. We have making housing affordable has also to do with the financing and making sure that people can buy a house. I just bought my first house 3 years ago, and it was a lot. It's a journey. Housing being affordable for educators is important, for firefighters, for our basic service folks. So we have to look at all of the affordable housing. Seniors, people on limited and fixed incomes. It's a very complicated issue that it would take me an hour and a half to go through a long conversation. But I'm very concerned about it because my house was $400,000. And I'm a teacher. And I'm telling you, I'm scrambling right now. So we all have to do what we have to do to make sure people stay in their residence.
All right, Ms. Dudley, thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem.
Well, the special primary election will be held on March 4th, so make sure you tune in next week as we introduce another candidate, Ryan Middleton, only on CTV News. And don't move, Simon Buggs is here with our Thursday Sports page.
All right, everyone, are you ready? Because it's time for the show's best segment, the Thursday Sports page. There was some high school hoops action over in Temple Hills last night as the Crossland and Surrattsville girls basketball squads faced off. In the first quarter, the Lady Hornets got on the board first thanks to Jasmine Warmley pulling up and hitting this mid-range jumper. And then point and shooting guard Kendra Gatton of Crossland came right down the court, went into the teeth of the defense, and finished inside to give her squad their first bucket of the night. Warmley continued to make plays for her team, like getting this sweet rejection on Ramia Alston and nailing these two long-range jumpers. And because of this, her team finished the first quarter out in front 10-6. In the second quarter, Surrattsville's offense really came alive. This tray ball made by two guards Shayla Morris, guard Taylor James Euro stepping through traffic to convert this layup, and Morris hitting this nice buzzer beater at the end of the quarter helped Surrattsville outscore Crossland 19-7 in the quarter. And they went into halftime up 29-13. But in the third quarter, Crossland slowly began to eat away at the lead. This putback layup from Alston after a miss by Gatton, and Lady Cavs making a good defensive play, coming up with this steal that turned into more points for the team, cut the deficit to just 10 points. And another made basket from Alston after she took the ball coast to coast, now had her team down by just single digits, and the Lady Cavaliers went into the fourth quarter down just 37-30. In the fourth quarter, Crossland kept chipping away at Surrattsville's lead. And then with just a little under 2 minutes left in the ball game, Alston made another clutch shot, knocking down this triple to tie the game at 44-all. Shortly after, James was fouled and went to the free throw line and nailed both shots to give her team the lead at 46-44. And then as she went up for the layup, Shakai Leggett was fouled and had a chance to tie the game at the free throw line. Leggett was only able to make one of the freebies, and her team was down 46-45 with 34 seconds left in the game. After another foul by Crossland to stop the clock, it was Warmley's chance to put the game away with her free throws. She made just one of two, and now her team was ahead 47-45. Alston had a chance to tie the game again with some free throws of her own. She got the lucky bounce on the first one, but she wasn't so lucky on the second one, missing that one and failing to tie the game for her team. And Crossland fell short of their comeback, losing to Surrattsville 47-46. Man, that was a good game, you guys. Meanwhile, over in the college sports world, the Big Ten has some newcomers to the conference starting this season as USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington are all now part of the NCAA's oldest Division I conference. And one team that will be going up against these new conference foes this season is the UMD softball team. I spoke to one of the players on the squad, and she says her and the team are looking forward to the new level of competition.
We were lucky enough to get to play Washington, Oregon, and UCLA at the beginning of last year, and we played fairly well against all of them. Barely lost to UCLA, barely lost all three of them, two of them, and then we did beat Oregon. So we're excited to see what that's like. I know we only get to play UCLA at home this year in conference, but maybe in the Big Ten tournament we can, get to go against one of them again. So we're excited.
The Lady Terps' first and only regular season matchup of the Big Four will be UCLA on March 28th. And wrapping up sports, the PGCTV men's basketball squad will take the court tonight. The Owls will host Allegheny College of Maryland at 7 o'clock. And that wraps up your Thursday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
All right, Simon, thanks so much. And that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.